There are lines on the surface of the earth that were not meant to be followed. They exist at the edge of possibility, where the world of the horizontal meets the unforgiving logic of the vertical. These are not roads or highways built for the easy passage of commerce and community, but whispers of a path, etched into stone by geology, by time, and by a peculiar, persistent human will. They are the planet's exposed nerves, found where the ground gives way to the abyss, where the air grows thin and sharp in the lungs, and where the simple, unconscious act of placing one foot in front of the other becomes a profound and deliberate negotiation between ambition and survival. To call them a path is perhaps a misnomer. A path implies a certain promise of safe passage, a taming of the landscape. These, however, offer no such guarantee. They are scars of intent, carved by hands that held rudimentary tools, or worn into existence by the slow, patient friction of countless footsteps over centuries. They are found in the places our modern world has tried to forget, where gravity is not an abstract concept, but a constant, tangible presence pulling at every muscle, and where the boundary between the landscape and the void is only as wide as a human foot. These are the world's impossible paths. They lead to isolated monasteries, to sacred summits, and sometimes to nowhere at all, their purpose lost to time, leaving only the terrifying fact of their existence. They were built not for convenience, but out of a deeper, more primal human need. The necessity of faith, the demands of survival, or the pure, inexplicable desire to stand where no one was meant to stand. To walk them is to enter into a silent, intimate conversation with the raw architecture of the planet. This is not a story about destinations, for in these places, the destination is often inseparable from the journey that leads to it. It is a story about the lines themselves and about the enduring, often illogical question of why we are drawn to the edge, to follow routes that defy reason, and to find a deeper sense of meaning in the most dangerous places on Earth. Some of the most dangerous paths were not born from a spiritual quest or a desire for adventure, but from the relentless, unsentimental march of industry. They were arteries of progress, built to carry workers and materials through terrain that nature had declared impassable. In the sun-scorched landscape of southern Spain, the Guadalhorce River has spent millennia carving the El Chorro Gorge, a colossal fissure in the earth so deep and narrow that its limestone walls seem to almost touch the sky, leaving only a thin ribbon of blue below. It was here, at the dawn of the 20th century, in an age of hydroelectric ambition, that a path was needed to service a new dam, a path that would stitch together two waterfalls through the very heart of the abyss. It was called El Caminito del Rey, the King's Little Pathway, named after King Alfonso XIII, inaugurated the project. But for the men who built it, and for the workers who walked it daily, it was a simple, terrifying commute. Using little more than ropes, pulleys, and raw courage, They hung from the cliff face, drilling into the rock by hand. The concrete was mixed with river water and hauled up in buckets, poured into a crude wooden frame, anchored directly to the vertical limestone. For decades, it served its purpose, a testament to human ingenuity in the face of a geological absolute. But stone and steel, however well placed, are no match for the slow, patient, and inexorable forces of time and gravity. The path began to decay. Water seeped into microscopic cracks, freezing and expanding, pushing the concrete apart from within. The steel supports, exposed to the elements, began to rust, bleeding orange stains down the cliff face as they slowly surrendered their strength. The path began to crumble, to shed its skin into the canyon below, until it was little more than a skeletal ruin, a broken promise of passage. Yet its decay did not erase it from the human map. Instead, it transformed it. What was once a path of labor became a legend of risk, a siren call to a new generation of walkers who sought to touch its history and test their nerve against its ruins. It became known as the world's most dangerous hike, a place where the path had dissolved back into the cliff, leaving only a series of disconnected platforms and a profound, unnerving sense of exposure. Its danger was not an obstacle, it was the destination. To traverse it was to walk on a ghost, to feel the history of its builders and the slow, powerful breath of its decay. Today, a new path has been built, a safe and modern echo of the original, suspended just below the old one. But the ghost of the first Caminito remains, a permanent, crumbling reminder that even the most solid human endeavors are temporary, and that nature is always waiting with infinite patience to reclaim what has been carved from it. Not all paths are built. Some are simply discovered. Lines of weakness in the mountain's armor, roots of possibility that demand not engineering, but pure human resolve. They are not carved into the rock, but exist as the rock itself, a challenge issued by the planet's own violent history. In the Scottish Highlands, in the solemn, brooding valley of Glen Coe, a place born of a supervolcano's collapse and later scoured by glaciers, the Aonach Igach Ridge is such a place. Its Gaelic name means the Notched Ridge, a description of profound understatement that barely captures its brutal, intimidating geometry. It is a blade of ancient volcanic rock, 4 kilometers long, with fatal, precipitous drops on either side into the glens below. Here, the path is not a surface to be walked upon, but a line to be balanced. There are no chains, no handrails, no concessions to human frailty. The only safety is skill, judgment, and an unwavering, almost meditative focus. The rock is rough and reliable underhand, but the route is a complex, 3-dimensional puzzle. To traverse the Aonach Igach is to commit to a journey with no easy escape. The steep, scree-filled gullies that fall away from the ridge are even more dangerous than the ridge itself. Once started, the safest way forward is to continue, to navigate the jagged towers, known as the Crazy Pinnacles, to down-climb sections of vertical rock, and to become one with the rhythm of the mountain. A single misstep, a moment of hesitation, or a sudden, violent gust of wind funneling up from the valley can sever the fragile connection between the walker and the stone. This is a path defined by what is absent. There is no room for error, no margin for distraction. It is a place of profound, primal concentration, where the mind is silenced by the sheer, overwhelming reality of the void that flanks every move. The danger is not an occasional hazard to be navigated, it is the very essence of the path, a constant companion from the first step to the last. It demands a continuous dialogue with the rock, a physical and mental immersion so complete that the outside world ceases to exist. It is a stark reminder that in the great wildernesses, we are not masters, but guests, permitted to pass only if we respect the unwritten, unforgiving laws of the high places. In other corners of the world, the danger is not the stark, cold emptiness of the void, but the overwhelming, suffocating vitality of nature itself. On the Hawaiian island of Kauai, the Kalalau Trail is a path that exists in a constant state of flux, a perpetual battleground between the volcanic earth and the relentless, sculpting power of water. This is a landscape that is still being born, and the trail is a fragile witness to its violent creation. It is a route that was first carved by ancient Hawaiians, a vital link to the isolated cathedral-like valleys where they lived and farmed, in a self-sufficient paradise, a place of immense spiritual significance known as Wahipana. The trail winds for 11 miles, a seemingly modest distance, but it crosses 5 deep valleys and countless streams, ascending and descending thousands of feet. It is not the distance that defines this journey, but the exposure and the water. Rain, born from the moisture-laden Pacific winds hitting the island's central peak, can arrive without warning, turning gentle, clear streams into impassable, raging torrents of brown water in a matter of minutes, trapping hikers for days between them. The path itself, a thin ribbon of slick, red mud and crumbling volcanic rock, is constantly being eroded from above by waterfalls and from below by the sea, sloughing off into the turquoise ocean hundreds of feet below. Sections like the infamous Crawler's Ledge demand a primal trust in friction and balance. Here, the trail all but disappears, and the journey becomes a delicate, terrifying traverse across the raw face of the cliff. There is nothing to hold on to but the small, crumbling indentations in the rock. The sound of the ocean is a constant, hypnotic roar, a reminder of the immense power that has sculpted this landscape and the power that could unmake a life in an instant. To walk the Kalalau is to accept that the ground beneath your feet is not permanent. It is a living, breathing, and decaying path, beautiful and treacherous in equal measure, a place where the forces of creation and destruction are not abstract concepts, but are visible, tangible, and present in every single step. Human ambition has always been drawn upward, to the highest points, to the places that offer a commanding view of the world, a perspective of mastery and awe. But to reach them often requires a path that defies the gentle logic of a switchback, a path that becomes a stairway to the sky. In America's Zion National Park, a monolith of Navajo sandstone called Angel's Landing presents such a challenge. Carved by the patient work of the Virgin River, it stands as a colossal fin of rock, jutting into the center of the canyon. Early explorers, awed by its sheer scale and isolation, declared that only an angel could land on its summit. But humans, driven by a different kind of faith, a faith in engineering and their own tenacity, decided to try. The final half-mile of the trail is a masterpiece of audacious engineering and a severe test of nerve. After a series of steep switchbacks, the path arrives at the spine of the rock, a ridge that narrows to only a few feet wide. From here, the only aid is a single, thick iron chain, bolted directly into the sandstone, a cold metallic link to the mountain. Here the challenge becomes as much psychological as it is physical. It is an exercise in managing fear, in trusting the iron and the stone, while the entire world opens up into a dizzying panorama of a 1,000-foot drop on either side. This vertical impulse, this willingness to abandon the horizontal world, is found across the globe. In South Africa's Drakensberg Mountains, the path to the top of the Sentinel Massif does not end with a walk, but with a climb. A series of thin, metal chain ladders, bolted directly to the sheer basalt rock face, provide the only non-technical access to the plateau above. Each rung is a step into the void. The hands grip the cold, weathered steel. The body hangs suspended over the abyss, and the world is reduced to the next handhold, the next foothold. These are not trails in the traditional sense. They are vertical puzzles, invitations to abandon the security of the ground. They exist because of a fundamental human desire to overcome, to stand on the summit not just by walking, but by ascending. They transform a hike into a pilgrimage of courage, where the final reward is not just the view, but the profound, visceral knowledge of having faced the vertical and found a way to the top. In California's Yosemite Valley, a place of geological titans, another monument of granite presents a similar yet distinct challenge of vertical ambition. For decades, the sheer, curving face of Half Dome was considered utterly inaccessible to the walker. In 1865, the California Geological Survey declared it perfectly inaccessible, being probably the only one of all the prominent points about the Yosemite which never has been and never will be trodden by human foot. But in 1919, a path was forged where none existed, not with steps carved from stone, but with steel cables and iron posts drilled into the rock. The infamous cable route is the final grueling ordeal after a long and strenuous journey that has already pushed hikers to their physical limits. It is a path of pure upper body strength and unwavering mental fortitude. For 400 vertical feet, climbers haul themselves up a near vertical face of smooth, slick granite, their grip on the parallel cables the only thing holding them from a catastrophic 4,000-foot fall to the valley floor. The path is not carved into the rock, it is laid upon it, a temporary human imposition on an ancient geological fact. Wooden slats are placed every 10 feet, offering a brief respite, a place to catch one's breath before the next pull. Here, the fear of heights is compounded by profound physical exhaustion, turning the final ascent into a primal battle between the will to go on and the body's screaming urge to surrender. The granite acts as a natural lightning rod, and sudden storms have turned the cables into deadly electrical conductors. It is a raw, intimidating, and unforgettable way to the sky, a testament to the idea that where there is a will and enough steel, no summit is truly impossible. For millennia, the most impossible paths have been walked not for glory, for industry, or for sport, but for faith. They lead to places of profound, deliberate isolation, where the physical hardship of the journey was considered an essential part of a spiritual quest, a path to purity and enlightenment. Off the wild Atlantic coast of Ireland, the island of Skellig Michael rises from the sea like a jagged stone cathedral. For 600 years, from the 6th to the 12th century, it was home to a small community of Gaelic Christian monks who chose a life of extreme austerity, a life balanced precariously between God and the abyss. To reach their monastery, a cluster of stone beehive huts clinging to a ledge 600 feet above the waves, the monks carved more than 600 steps into the island's steep, unforgiving face. There were no railings, no safety nets. Every journey up or down, for fish from the sea, for seabird eggs from the cliffs, for prayer, was a life-threatening act of devotion. The path was a filter, a way of leaving the profane world behind. The violent wind, the churning sea, the constant dizzying danger, these were not obstacles to their faith, but instruments of it, designed to focus the mind and purify the soul. This same spiritual drive carved paths into the highest mountains on earth. In Bhutan, the trail to the Tiger's Nest Monastery is a journey that ascends through clouds, a pilgrimage to a place that seems to defy gravity, built on a ledge where a guru was said to have landed on the back of a flying tigress. And in the remote Zanskar region of India, the path to the Phugtal Monastery is even more extreme. It is a thin thread of a trail carved into the crumbling, honeycombed face of a canyon wall, a route so precarious that in places it seems to dissolve into the rock itself. For the monks who live in these isolated sanctuaries, and for the pilgrims who visit them, the path is an inseparable part of the destination. The risk is a prayer. The exhaustion is a form of meditation. These are not just ways to get from one place to another. They are transformative journeys designed to strip away the non-essential, to focus the mind, and to prove that faith is a force powerful enough to build a bridge across the void. Nowhere is the fusion of faith, geology, and verticality more dramatic than on China's Mount Fanjing, a place considered sacred in Chinese Buddhism. This is not just a monastery on a mountain, it is a sanctuary built on a geological impossibility. A single colossal stone spire, known as the Red Cloud's Golden Summit, rises from the earth, split at its peak by the slow, patient forces of erosion. And on top of these two separate finger-like pinnacles, Buddhist monks over 500 years ago built two temples, suspended nearly 8,000 feet in a sea of clouds. The path to reach them is an ascent of some 8,000 steps, a journey that begins in lush subtropical forest and ends in the thin, cold air of the peaks. The final sections become progressively steeper and more exposed until the path is a near vertical climb, forcing pilgrims to pull themselves up using iron chains bolted directly into the rock. But the final test, the ultimate act of faith, is the bridge, a narrow stone arch that spans the chasm between the two peaks, a crossing that takes place entirely in the sky, with the world spread out far below. To walk this path is to participate in an act of architectural devotion that borders on the miraculous. It is a place where the path itself becomes the ultimate symbol of enlightenment, a bridge between the historical Buddha and the future Buddha, a connection between two worlds, built across a terrifying, beautiful, and cloud-filled emptiness. And then, there are paths that seem to exist beyond faith, beyond industry, beyond reason itself. They are journeys to the absolute limit of human audacity, where the concept of a path is reduced to its most terrifying and minimal form. On China's sacred Mount Hua, one of the country's 5 great mountains, after ascending near vertical staircases carved into the granite, one arrives at a place that challenges the very definition of a trail, the Changong Jandao, the plank road in the vast sky. It is not a path, but a ledge, a series of crude, weathered wooden planks and carved footholds attached to a vertical cliff face 2,000 feet up. There is no ground, no margin, no illusion of safety. To cross it, one must clip into a safety cable and hang from iron chains, placing absolute trust in the ancient bolts and the weathered wood. It is a one-way route that forces a return journey, meaning strangers must pass each other in mid-air, a delicate and terrifying dance on the edge of the world, unclipping and reclipping their tethers with trembling hands. This path was not built for transport. It was created centuries ago by Taoist hermits and pilgrims seeking immortality, who believed that the extremity of the location brought them closer to the heavens, to a place of pure spiritual energy. It is a place that forces a direct, unavoidable confrontation with primal fear. Every vibration of the planks underfoot, every gust of wind that threatens to peel you from the cliff, every glance into the dizzying abyss is a visceral reminder of one's own fragility. It is perhaps the ultimate expression of a dangerous path, one that serves no practical purpose, but exists as a pure, uncompromised test of the human spirit against the absolute vertical. From the industrial arteries of Spain to the sacred cliffs of China, these impossible paths tell a single continuous story. They are a testament to the human refusal to accept boundaries, to our innate and often irrational impulse to go further, higher, and deeper. We see a vertical wall and we imagine a staircase. We see an impassable ridge and we find a line to walk. We see a void, and we build a bridge of wood, or iron, or faith. These paths remind us that our world is not a safe, predictable surface. It is a place of raw power, of sharp edges, and sudden, unforgiving drops. And perhaps that is why we seek them out. In an age of comfort, convenience, and virtual realities, they offer a rare and vital connection to something real, something elemental. They demand a state of heightened awareness that is almost impossible to find in daily life. They teach us to pay attention, to be present, to respect our own limitations, and to discover the strength that lies just beyond them. They are lines on an unwritten map, a map that leads not to a physical place, but to a deeper understanding of ourselves, a map that proves that the most meaningful journeys are rarely the easiest ones, and that the human spirit is most alive when it is balanced for a fleeting moment on the very edge of the world.